All right, it's Tuesday, November 21st. This is end of the day SPY recap. And today on the daily chart, we end up with a very narrow inside bar, stayed inside the high and the low of yesterday. It closed with a bit of a hammer look to it, stayed green, but really nothing special one way or the other after yesterday's big green bar. Now, first of all, yesterday's big green bar on the weekly chart did take out a key, level here. So it is a potential, higher high that could eventually reverse a little bit and give us a pullback, or it can continue to the next level, but you kind of know you're at a inflection point. So obviously today, between the blue lines, which was the pre-market range, we opened up near the bottom of that range. And if we look at the how today traded, we opened up, like I said, near the bottom of the pre-market range, significantly below a high yesterday, and immediately started down bar one, bar two. So there was an opportunity to buy puts that I discussed on a video that you can watch. And, you kind of saw that you were opening up, going lower, but you were still kind of above the midpoint of the prior day. And it's a big green day, and it's a long way to go to get an actionable signal to either take out the low of that day or move below the open of the week to turn the week red. And you kind of knew that, but you can give it a shot and just see what developed. And obviously it paused a little bit, then started a big red bar down, and then immediately, and I kind of shot an update on this trade that, I didn't know really how, once I kind of started pausing in here, how much downside you might get. And it was possible that this could, not go much further at all and then start up. So you were watching for that. And then it had a 1 bar pullback, red, started down. And this move here should have been the secondary move to take out that low and then maybe give you at least a 2 push down kind of trade. But it never did that. And then it had the reversal. I discussed at that point how I bought calls, because in my methodology, as I've discussed many times, I look for the first directional move of the day and then a secondary push, and I kind of judge everything, that way in terms of directional movement, and I also kind of keep it relative to the first bar. So in this case, you were failing to make a 2 push down, you went up green, and you were back to the range of the first bar. And at that point, I kind of anticipated that you would at least take out that first bar high. So there was an opportunity for a very small gain here if you wanted to take it in some form, kind of knowing you were going against the trend, and just to see if maybe it would go lower and let price actually, if maybe this big red bar could have really followed through strongly. I don't think you would have ever got below the low of the day, but maybe you could have got to the low of this range. But anyway, it didn't do that. You kind of sensed that was happening. And on this turnaround, that was an opportunity to buy calls. You reached your target. I shot a video there, and then look what happened there. After reaching that first target, with a long way to go to get up, not only to the pre-market highs, but also yesterday's high, market just immediately paused, started, and then it just chopped around for the rest of the day, and that was it. So it was just, and you kind of knew that you were just inside of the prior day, and this was an environment that just wasn't, or a day that you weren't getting much. You kind of anticipated almost from the start you were going to have some kind of an inside day, and once you kind of detect that, that's why you got to take, especially take base hit gains on a move down. If you jump in here, get out for the most of part, at your target. If you want to, maybe give it a shot, maybe one pullback. Once you saw a pause come up, have the shooter bar, just get right out. If you miss it and it really, continued up strong, so what? Because you're kind of in this environment. So we end up with a day that inside, and when I see inside days, I'm ready for all kinds of failure potential, in other words, that it should break out one way or the other, but you want to see if the momentum continues up. And it's interesting because in both cases, I can see a possibility of an immediate, failure. Here, if we break to the upside, you got this big, selling, bottom line was this yellow line was the breakout point on the weekly chart. If I go to that up here, it was this high right up in here. So you can see the way the market kind of immediately went up big after that breakout yesterday. That was a big bar, and it just followed right up. And then today we come right back to that point, and we're having a tough time getting through that. So to me, if we start up tomorrow, this was a kind of just a false little move potentially. So I really want to see if we start up that we get followed through strong in order to reach our target up here. If not, I'm prepared for a failure, breakout above the high of this bar that might come back through the midpoint of that bar. On the downside, it's kind of the same thing because, it's a pretty long way to go to turn this weekly chart red to get down here. So if we kind of break below the low of this bar tomorrow, I want to see immediate continuation pretty strong, some move here on the 15-minute chart that starts getting me down to this area. If not, I'm prepared for a failure down that comes back through the midpoint. So I'm always watching for that. I will, it is an inside consolidation kind of momentum buy kind of signal. So I will take it. We'll see where things open. We'll see the pre-market range and everything else, and we'll see if we can get above this high. Because if, on the monthly chart, if we don't fail here, we do have targets above, and all you can see the continuity is obviously green, even though there's a little exhaustion risk. And, you never know if this one bar was enough to kind of just, take away some of the exhaustion and build up a little bit of energy for a next move up. So you can try it, but also be prepared, to let price action show that breakout's going to be real and start working towards those highs. So we'll find out tomorrow. It's also the last day before a holiday. So, I don't know what that necessarily means. Sometimes price moves well, sometimes it doesn't. But at least for now, it's also very possible we get another day of consolidation. I can just sense that's kind of what the market's doing at the moment. I mean, the trend's up, so I think buying is still coming in on the moves down, and we are at a little bit of exhaustion risk. I mean, it's just, we have come up. This was last week we discussed was kind of a sideways week, so then we broke up, and this should have been a follow-through day if this was just going to be all kinds of, sideways action for a big breakout, and instead we go right back into sideways action. So I could see this being another inside day, and that could be tricky trading, and let's see if we end up something like this again tomorrow. But for now, it was just a simple, you kind of knew the environment, so the only opportunities, at least according to my methodology, was a little attempt to sell in the first move down, but not surprised that it didn't follow through, and then in one attempt to buy here that took out its high of the day, and that was all that you got today. So let's see what happens tomorrow, on Wednesday, which is a day before the Thursday holiday.